Alright, yo, what up? This is Z Nation, aka Savage Armor June Giraffe, coming at you with another episode of Deck Building Tuesday. Alright, so today we got like a little bit of a personal deck, I guess, that I've been working on. For a disclaimer, this isn't like the final build. I'm going through like some tweaks right now, but this is what I kind of sort of got for so far, at the moment. It's a work in progress, so don't take this as the final product. But I wanted to throw this in. So this is Hammsuke, of course, that you can tell. I wanted to throw this in for a couple of reasons. So, as much as I want to use Isabel and I want to use like the rest of the other support, all of that is in my main deck. And honestly, I didn't really want to get like another set of pieces just to do it, just like to make a premium version of it. But you also got to remember that there is a thing where I can just switch out cards here and there and kind of make it a little bit more even. So it's like, okay, I want to play standard format, I'll just put the standard cards back in. If I want to play premium, I'll do like the vice versa to that as well. The problem is I can't do that with Great Nature because honestly, I feel like Great Nature is one of the very few clans where their older support is way better than their newer support. Not saying that all of their newer support is bad or anything else like that. Like they have like a lot of decent good stuff, but like the older support has access to like grade 3 searchers and restanding units and draw power and stuff like that. It has access to a lot of stuff that like the standard version of Great Natures does not have. So when you put all that to consideration, I had enough to make a whole nother deck. Still using some standard support, but not as much as I wanted to. And also, this is very gimmicky, and I like gimmicky shit, so that's another reason. So anyway, who is this deck for? This deck is basically for anybody who's trying to play premium Great Nature like on a semi budget. I say semi because there's a couple of cards in here that are kind of like low key expensive. But at the same time, if you're the type of person who likes to salvage stuff like you say Fudo, like I kind of just did right here, then this is basically the deck for you. Basically the whole point of Hamsuke is to get, this stride out, which is I could never pronounce this guy's name. So we're just gonna call him Calm, like the meme. But anyway, we're just gonna use him, and basically you have like a winning champ Victor type vibe with him. You just flip up G zone, face up cards in the G zone. You gain 5k for each of it. So that's basically the whole strategy, is to end it on your second stride turn. So you set up on your first stride turn, you end it on your second stride turn. Now you're kind of wondering why I have the Culture Gorilla. This is because prior to this stride coming out, I was using Culture Gorilla and Bar Rule. And Culture Gorilla is basically you Soul Blast 5 and restand all your units of 25k and retire all of your opponent's rear guards if you reach the like 2 or more cards. So basically you'll use the first stride turn to set up for um for strategy and whatnot, and then you'll use like the opponent's turn and your first stride turn in order to set up for the second one, which would be Bar Wool. You should be at least over 20 to 25k to your whole front row by the end of it. So that's a thing. However, because he requires a Soul Blast 5 and Calm requires you to have Soul Blast to use his effect in the first place, I had to cut him out. So that's the thing. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Let's basically get this started. Alright, so first off, we're going to be using the starter, which is pretty self-explanatory. You get your quick shield if you're going second. I don't really need to do anything for that. So our trigger lineup will be 4 heals. I was originally using the other heals, like the ones that allows you to Soul Blast or Soul Charge, but I feel like because of a couple of cards I'm gonna have in the trigger lineup, I need more power, so I'm just using like the vanilla crits. I mean the vanilla heals. We're running 5 draws, 4 of them being the PG draws. Now, normally I don't really like running the PG draws in Great Nature because you're self milling a lot, and because of the self milling and the consistent drawing, you're just gonna deck yourself out faster. But I feel like because I'm not doing as much self milling, that this is kind of more the exception. And plus, you need some defense as well. We're running 5 draws. This one is Castanet Donkey. I run this specifically because you need stuff in the soul, and this basically is the Bargool draw for all the newer players. Every clan has a draw card that allows you to put itself into the soul, and plus one of your units 3K. We call it the Bargo one because that was the first one to do so. Then we have, of course, the Strive Fighter crits at 4. We have 2 of the Vanguard crits, the ones that go to the soul when the Vanguard attacks. And we have 1 approval. Um, we have 1 of the Penguin, which basically allows you, it's basically the exact same thing but in crit form. The only reason why I'm running the extra draw, even though you could just run 2 of this, is because I do feel like that the deck needs a little bit of draw power than is normally dishing out. So that's the only reason why I'm running 5 draws. But other than that, if you want to, then just get like a second crit of this one. But they basically do the same thing, and I needed some trigger lineup in order to put stuff into the soul. So that's for the grade. That's all it for the grade zeros. For the grade 1, you got the first of the ride chain. You have Pencil Squire Hammsuke. Basically during if he's on the rear guard circle at the end of the turn, you soul blast 1, put him into the soul, search out for the grade 2 Hammsuke. Pretty simple. You need him into the soul in order to use Pencil Hero's skill, which is kind of sort of like the bad thing about it being piece reliant. So outside of that, he does become a 12k as long as you have Pencil's hero as your vanguard. So that's a good thing. So now you're kind of like, well, if I don't get the Hammsukes in time, what can I do? Well, we do have this called Hammsuke's classmate, Pastor Marco Hammer. Basically, on Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, you Soul Blast 1, put a grade 2 or less into the Soul, and draw a card. So if you don't get a chance to get, like, let's say you have the grade 2 Hammsuke in hand, but you don't have the grade 1 Hammsuke, what you would basically do, and like, let's say you ride into the grade 2 Hammsuke, or you don't really get into the grade 2 Hammsuke at all, basically what you want to do is Soul Blast, put him into the soul, and then you'll be able to use Pencil Hero on your next turn. It kind of sucks when it does happen though, but this is kind of like the backup when you really think about it. One of the cards that's going to be helping us with Soul is going to be Label Pangolian. He is a GB1 sadly, so he won't activate till the Stride activates. So basically, when he's placed during your main phase, you choose one of your units and it gains the following effects once it becomes successful at 20k. At the end of the battle that it attacks, you counter charge 1, soul charge 1. That's basically how it goes. This is going to definitely help for your soul charge abilities during your first stride turn. Is going to be one of the major things for your setup. Last but not least, we have a card where I'm hoping we're going to get in standard. Honorary Assistant Mike Soroboro. You choose one of your rear guards, and if it gets retired, then you're able to search for a grade 3. So basically, there's going to be a couple of cards in here that's going to allow you to retire your rear guards, and basically you'll use him for like to search out for a grade 3 and whatnot. This is any grade 3, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, that's going to be it. So this is our grade 1 lineup, which is pretty good. Pretty solid. There's a couple of cards I actually wanted to put in here though, but I didn't really have the room for it. Next one, we have the Grade 2 Hammsuke. Part 2 of your right chain. So Pencil Squire, Pencil Knight, not Pencil Squire, Pencil Knight Hammsuke. Which basically on Rearguard Circle, he does allow you to get he'll become a 12k B stick as long as you have Pencil Hero on your Vanguard Circle. And then when he attacks on the Vanguard Circle, if you have Pencil Squire, where is he? If you have Pencil Squire into the Soul, then you're able to gain plus 5k, so he'll become a 14k B stick when he's on the Vanguard Circle. So that's pretty much it. Grade 1, sort of grade 2, and everything else, you see how that goes. One of the ones that's going to help us retire units, Compass Lion. He's an 11k, and he has the ability on Vanguard and the Rearguard Circle to retire a Rearguard at the end phase. Do keep in mind that if he's on a Rearguard Circle, he can retire himself. So you can use Maxwell Burrow's skill right here and basically target himself, and he'll just retire, and then basically you'll be able to search for a grade 3. Last but not least, in our grade 2 lineup, the MVP of G era Great Nature, Crayon Tiger. He's a GB1 sadly, but he does have an ability when he attacks and he's boosted, you counterblast one, restand one of your units, it gains 4k, at the end of the turn, it retires. Now, here's the thing, and it took me a long time to realize this, but if you're going against something like Kagero, and they use something like Denial Griffin to the unit that you gave the 4k, so like let's say you gave Pencil Knight the 4k, it restands, it attacks, it gets retired by Denial Griffin. You basically still get the draw because of Crayon Tiger's ability. Kind of mad that it took me like a year after this card was released to realize that. But yeah, as long as you use your skill with Crayon Tiger, however it gets retired, it basically, you still get the draw, which is actually pretty good. Because this deck does have bad matchups against like field control decks, obviously. So that's it for the grade 2 lineup. Now for my obviously retarded looking grade 3 lineup. We're going to be playing Pencil Hero, but we're playing Pencil Hero at 3. Now you're kind of wondering why we're playing it at 3, and I'll get to that in a minute. So, if you do finally get the grade 2 and the grade 1, you're able to get an extra marker when he rides. So, you'll get the XL2 marker, you will draw a card, you'll discard 2 cards, get another XL marker, you'll draw a card, and then you'll search out for 1 copy of Pencil Squire Hammsuke and Pencil Knight Hammsuke and put them onto the Rearguard Circle. That's basically what you're using them for. You only need to use this once. It does promote deck thinning, because deck thinning is deck winning and everything else like that. But part 2 of Hamma is also 3 of Hammsuke rival Rocket Pencil Hammsuke. He's also going to come in handy too. So, for a once per turn, you have the ability when you call a Rearguard Circle to, not a Rearguard Circle, when you call a Rearguard to an additional Rearguard Circle, so let's call like Pencil Knight Hammsuke, you call a card, you get a card from your hand, you put into the soul, this card and Pencil Knight, or whatever the card that you call an additional Rearguard Circle, will gain an additional 10k. If you control 2 or more additional Rearguard Circles, you get to draw a card. So it's technically a draw card engine. It technically helps get these 2 out in general. And basically, as long as you can get the Pencil Hero thing out before stride turn, or your second stride turn, your first stride turn, your second stride turn, you should be a-okay. That's basically how it goes. And for an extender, we run two amazing Professor Big Bellies. So, on the his regular ability, he got a cess of 25k, but when he's placed on the Vanguard circle, or you stride while this card is on the Vanguard circle, you get to call up the one card from your hand. It gains plus 4k, and at the end of the turn, you retire it, you draw a card, but you're not using them for his Vanguard skill, even though you could, but you're using it for his Rearguard skill, which is basically GB1. You counterblast one at the end of the battle that this unit attacks. You get to choose one of your other rear guards. It restands and it gains plus 4k to the end of the turn. So he is ideal that you kind of want to have him. Like during your stride 2 turn, which is kind of interesting and understandable. But yeah, he's also a restander. He's one of the very few ones that also uses a counterblast as well, so there's that. But that's the end of the main deck. Now let's look at the extra deck. Because we need as many cards as possible flipped face up, we're gonna be running 6 G guards. I know that's a little bit too much. Technically, we should be running 5. 5 is usually like my maximum limit in like basically in every like premium deck that I do. But because Great Nature has some generously good strides and good G guards, I just couldn't pass up the opportunity. Now, 2 of them that we're gonna be using is Sheltered, Hairless, Spangled. So you do have to be in GB1 in order to use this. So if your opponent went first, strove first, and you have no face-up cards in the stride zone, you can't really use this card. But anyway, you flip a G card. You flip a G Guardian face up after it's placed, and however many cards that you put on the Guardian circle after this, as long as it's grade 3 or lower, you draw that many cards. So like, let's say I use this and then I put like maybe 4 of these cards right here. After they get retired, these go to the drop zone. This goes to the top of the face up pile, and I draw 4 cards. That's kind of sort of how it goes. This is going to be key because, of course, you need as many face-up cards in the G zone as possible, and this will definitely help with the setup. That's the reason why you're using them. I'm not going to pronounce this dude's name, so we're just going to call him Almadraw. I think that's how you say it. I don't really use him much, but he does come in pretty handy when you go against decks that require you to have stuff on the field. So, you when he's placed, you Soul Blast one, and you choose 2 cards in your hand. You call it to Rearguard Circle. It gains Resist. So basically, they can't really get retired for the rest of the turn, which is understandable. And they kind of sort of get like this immunity and stuff like that, which is also good when you really think about it. So you got stuff like the Vanquishers that can basically deal you with damage if you have no cards on the Rearguard Circle, and this will basically help with that. And there's like a couple of other ones here and there, but we're not going to get into that. Then we have Kuna. How do you say this? Kudamali, or I don't know how to say it. We're just gonna call this the Peacock. Okay, so basically the Peacock is pretty simple. He was one of the first ones. When he's placed, you choose one of your rear guards. It gets retired, and you soul charge. I mean, you counter charge one, but it does. You gain plus 5k shield as well. This one, the turtle, Sankalpa, you counterblast one. You choose one of your rear guards. It gains plus 4k for each empty rear guard circle that you have, and if it's 20k or higher, after you add all that, if it's 20k or higher, you get to draw a card. At the same time, your Vanguard will get whatever how much your rear guard is getting as well. So if you have like let's say you have 5 rear guard circles, you have these two, so you'll have 7. Let's say you just have one, you're going to give 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So your vanguard is going to be gaining 24, and the rear guard is going to gain 24 until the end of that battle. And because it was 20k or higher, which most definitely it was, you get to draw a card. So your vanguard would gain 24 plus whatever the 15 is, and depending on if you have defense triggers or not, yeah, you see how it goes. Last but not least, you have the Ardillo, where you get to choose any number of your rear guards to tire it. You don't really have to, but you're just doing it just so if you have 3 or more open rear guard circles, he gains a 10k shield. So he's pretty hefty in there too. So now that we finally got through the G Guardians, because that took way longer than I thought it was, let's get to like the actual strides. We're gonna use the OG Macamara 2. So you do have to have at least 2 or more cards face up in the G zone in order to use his ability. But basically, you counterblast one, flip a copy of them, choose 2 of your units, they gain 4k, and if they attack, then your opponent is not able to call great ones or greater from hand to the Guardian Circle. So this does come in handy, especially when you're using Grand Tiger as one of the to restand one of the cards that are 4k or higher. But as long as I forgot, the rear guards that you choose, they have to be 20k or higher, but they're obviously going to be 20k or higher, so that's going to be a thing. You don't really go into this much, you just basically go into this if your opponent really doesn't have that many cards in hand. So outside of that, he's just going to become flip fodder. Then you use 4 of the new one. Oh, actually no, not 4, 3 of the new one. The one that came out in 2019 Premium Collection. So he has an interesting ability. You counterblast one, you flip a copy of any card in your G zone face up. You mill the top 4 cards of your deck, and depending on which one you mill, it gets a certain ability. If you mill the normal unit, you choose one of your units and it gains plus 10k. If you mill a trigger, you get a +1 drive. And he has a G zone ability when he's face up, where when your Vanguard attacks, you Soul Blast one, and you can call a card from your hand to a rear guard circle. So he does basically come in handy. You don't really need to play 4. He's more likely always going to be your first stride. That's how you normally set up. And he does definitely come in handy on your second stride turn, because when your Vanguard attacks, if you have enough cards, you can just basically reset the board if you want to. It's actually pretty funny when you do. Then you have one of the 2 win cons. You have Barwool. So Barwool has an ability when he Soul Blasts. All of your front row rear guards gains plus 4k for each face-up card in the G zone. And if any of those cards it damages your opponent, then basically you get to draw a card. Oh yeah, you also get to flip one. That's basically what it is. So Soul Blast, flip a copy. Well, you don't have to flip the exact copy though, but basically flip any copy of your card from your G zone face up. All of your front row units gain +4. However, they are all retired at the end phase, so keep that in mind as well. Then we're gonna go to the second win con, which is Calm. So as long as he's on your Vanguard circle, any card that goes to the drop zone either from the deck or from the field goes to the bottom of the deck. And then his second ability is when one of your rear guards attack, you Soul Blast one, flip a card face up from your G zone, and basically that card gets 5k for each face up card in the G zone. At the end of the battle, you retire that card. which is just basically going to go back to the bottom of the deck anyway. The reason why we run 2 is that you could basically use them on your first and second stride turn. Your second stride turn being a lot more explosive, of course. But honestly, at the same time, there really wasn't that much space to put anything else in there, since 90% of your deck is just going to become flip fodder for either this card, or this card right here and there. So you got all that put together. Um, a lot of people don't really like this, like I've mentioned before, so that's understandable. Uh, he's kind of optional. If you really want to run him at 1, then go ahead. But like I said, most of your deck is just going to be flip fodder for these 3 cards in particular. That's the sad thing. And let's say you don't kill your opponent off with him, your opponent is still somehow on his last leg. You use the GB8, which is named Sasha Saravera. So you choose 2 cards in your hand and discard them. Choose up to 5 of your rear guards, and until the end of the turn, they gain 10k and they get retired. If the number of cards, in your hand is 1 or less, this unit would gain 40k in an extra critical. So basically, the end game of end game, you need 1 or less card in hand. So that's definitely going to be a thing, because you're going to be definitely flipping enough stuff up with these 2 and this card as well for you to get to GB8 pretty easily. And then you also have the Mega Colony thing, because of course Mega Colony has that stupid ass stride. Like, I'm still kind of pissed at that, I'm sorry, but as a Mega Colony main, that kind of sort of hurt. But anyway, that's going to be the whole deck. Tell me what you think. Is there should be any changes or anything else like that? Did this deck work? I'm planning on to use this in a fight, like maybe like sometime Saturday whenever I get a chance to record another fight again. So you will get to see this deck in action. I don't know if I'm gonna win or not. More likely I will. But for now, me being cocky as shit, my name's Mr. Zoo Nation, aka Savage Armor Jones Giraffe, signing out.